Welcome back. My name is Matt Reiners, and I'm the co-founder of Eversound, which was recently acquired by Uniguest, which is a company committed to developing engagement technologies to help communities connect and improve quality of life for older adults. Today, I'm joined by my friend, Rebecca Sturtz, the VP of Operations for Bridge Senior Living. I've gotten to know Rebecca over the years in her various roles, where she's been in activities, an executive director, a regional director of ops, a regional vice president of ops, and now a vice president of ops. And it's funny, she probably doesn't even remember this, but our relationship started where I think I was just cold emailing her when she was one of those regional directors. But I've gotten to know Rebecca over the past couple of years, and she brightens up any room that she really walks into. And it's just such a great human being, and is one of those that has got the business savviness and also just the soul to help support senior living. So thanks so much for joining me today, Rebecca.
Yeah, thanks. And I did not pay you to say that, but I appreciate it, Matt.
Of course. Well, it's every word is true. And so Rebecca, I mentioned a couple of your roles here, but I would, my first question I ask every guest here is, can you share a little bit about your background and how you got into senior living?
Yeah, so a little bit unique in that I grew up in it. So my stepfather opened up group homes for those with cognitive impairment. I was probably 10 when he started that. And so they were small group homes. So like we participated in the grocery shopping every week for the group home. We participated in activities. We were voluntold to participate in activities. So we just grew up in this space. And then in my teenage years, my step grandmother developed dementia and ended up living with us through her end of life. And I just at that point really grew an understanding of what people go through as caregivers because we were doing it every day. And so at that point, I just decided this is what I want to do with the rest of my life. I wanted to serve seniors and dedicate that to her and anybody else dealing with cognitive impairment. So I started off as an activities director and then just kind of moved my way through. And I love what I do. I wouldn't change it for the world. So yeah, I've been doing this, I say, since I was a kid.
I love that. Well, and I've never heard the term voluntold before, which I love that. Well, unless if I'm on the receiving end of that,
Yeah,
which I definitely, my mom had voluntold me. I had to do some stuff growing up.
yeah.
Um, and Rebecca, my next question here for you, because I think you're one of the people I've come across in the industry, definitely top three, if not top one, that it just seems like you really prioritize your physical and spiritual well-being. I know like you're competing and stuff and like taking part in like triathlons and stuff. And like, I've seen the pictures on social, but I'm just curious, like, how do you think about your own physical and spiritual well-being?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's always a work in progress, right? But first and foremost, I just intertwine it with my life. I feel like it's a lifestyle for me. I think spiritual and physical well-being for me, if it part of self-care, right? Like if I can intertwine those in my day-to-day day-to-day activities, I find myself a better person, and be better able to care for my family and those that I work with. And so it is definitely a priority for me, although it definitely takes dedication and time. We have busy lives, right? Not just personal, but professional. And being able to put time aside for that piece is, put it on the schedule every night for the next day.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I think one of the things I've learned is you need to prioritize it and make it a part of your daily life. And I think any listener to this knows that I have a daughter and definitely deprioritized it. And then went to the doctor and basically was like, your cholesterol is at an all-time high. So we need to get back to working out here. And I was like, yeah, no, definitely need to get that on the calendar and do that. And it's almost like a sign we're talking today, Rebecca, because my wife texted me about an hour ago asking if I wanted to run a half marathon in 4 months. So now I feel, I guess, obligated to do so.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think you just signed yourself up.
I think I did too. And I think it's super important, right, to like prioritize that and make it a plan of the day to day. And I think, it really helps with that burnout, which I tend to see more and more often, especially in senior living. And I'm curious, like, how would you describe the relationship between physical and spiritual well-being in the context of senior living and maintaining that work-life balance?
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about COVID for a second, right? That burnout of all burnouts. And, we were running 24/7. We do anyway, right? But we were literally trying to save lives every day with limited resources. And so I think in our space, we're in our space because we care about others, right? We're natural caregivers in the senior living space, both on in the community side and the vendor side. And so I think ultimately we're giving so much every day, but what are we giving back to ourselves, right? And so I don't think I'm at my best unless I'm giving myself what I need, right? So nutrition, exercise, spiritual, reflection, those types of things. And I think, we all have 24 hours in a day, right? Nobody gets any more time in a day. It's how you use it, right? And there are days I'd love to sit in front of the TV and watch Netflix, right? But I choose to do something different. And ultimately, I think I feel better and those around me feel better when I can do that self-care piece. And I do think we need to spend more time in our space talking about it and understanding that that work-life balance we have to give our team members, right? Because they show up better when they get that time to decompress and do what they need to do, whether that's their spiritual journey or whatever, physical journey. It's different for everybody, right? But when we feel better, we do better. And so it's just a priority. It's a lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, COVID definitely was kind of the accelerant to all of that and really making sure that, people need to prioritize that and really promoting that. Um, and I'm wondering, as a senior living executive, how can you or other people similar roles, right, effectively communicate the importance of physical and spiritual well-being to both residents and their employers or their colleagues? Because I think all this stuff, right? There's no downside to it. So how do you effectively communicate that and execute on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's starting with the why, right? I mean, we take care of a population that made choices in their life. And right, and we're ultimately seeing those choices come to fruition, right? Whether they didn't physically take care of themselves, whether they say, man, I wish I had done this differently. We have that option to do that at our age, right? Even though I feel like every day I'm getting older and I'm farther away from that. And so I think just being able to openly talk about it and being able to give resources. I know there's a lot of companies out there providing money or allowance for the gym, right? Or saying, look, if you get a physical every year, your insurance is cheaper. Like all those little things make an impact. But I think we just don't spend enough time talking about it. And just saying like, look, take that time that you need, especially those who are on the road all the time, find that hotel that's got a gym, right? And I do think we've just got to start involving it in our everyday lives and talking about it from a business standpoint. Because again, at the end of the day, we've got to take care of our employees so that they can then take care of our residents. And I think we're doing a lot more. I think on the company sides to giving resources to our residents, right,
Yeah.
at their fingertips. Like they don't have to drive to the local Y anymore. We're bringing the Y to them, right? And how do we start including exercise? It doesn't always feel like exercise. I know my grandma does not want to go to exercise class, but if you tell her it's, listening to music and tossing a balloon around, she's more likely to do that if it's something fun versus you calling it an exercise class, because she didn't grow up that way, right? I
Right.
didn't go to the gym, right? So how do we make it more adaptable and fun for an age group that maybe didn't go to the gym every day or didn't have the resources to do so?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you brought up a good point of just talking about it and getting it in front of people too, right? And making it more of the norm. I've seen that even from company to company, on more of the startup side where it almost comes part of the culture, right? Like people are doing these things and talking about it and are proud to share their achievements with their fellow peers and with stuff. And I think too, communities, there's more and more research coming out, right, around the longevity and how that's going to help. And exercise is one of those things that even 1 minute is better than nothing. And same with brushing your teeth too. But there's probably a couple things out there, but it's interesting to see how that can kind of come to fruition. And I'm curious if you've come across any technology or apps that you swear by when it comes to your own physical and or spiritual well-being.
Yeah, so two things that come to mind when I'm in full training mode, which I am right now, just keeping track of not only my physical fitness side, but the nutrition that comes along with that. Because, if you're working out that hard, what are you feeding your body that makes sense, right? I mean, I'd love all the cookies and candy in the world, but that's not going to help drive performance. And so I use my Fitness Pal, which is kind of like a keeps track of what you eat, but really about the nutrition that you're taking in. And then there's an exercise component too that tracks, like you can load it. And it's got all kinds of food loaded from fast food restaurants to things you would make at home. And it kind of for me, it's about protein and those types of things when I'm in training. So I love that. And then for my spiritual journey, because I'm on the road, for me, I can't be carrying journals and those types of things. Lectio 365 is awesome. Free app, it's daily devotionals, about 10 to 15 minutes, but really applies to like just daily life, right? Today was about forgiveness and kind of intertwining that with Bible verses, but like, what are you doing today to, forgive somebody or something? And so really love it because I can listen to it on the road. I can listen to it while I'm running. And I just don't miss a day of it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I use the fitness app, and it reminded me I got to log the apple that I ate earlier today on that. And I've found that was super helpful to even just documenting what I was eating too, because I was definitely, if I've got one crutch, it's like eating bad or just like, so I joke that it's chips, chicken wings, and Chinese food, my three C's. So trying to get away from that when I actually like do the food log and seeing what it is, it's like, yeah, that's probably not the best for me. And I have to ask, what are you training for right now?
So I'm doing an Ironman in Wilmington in October, half Ironman. So I'm in full blown training, and yeah, just got to be that much more aware of what I'm taking in, and especially when I'm on the road when it's hard to
Yeah.
eat healthy, right, and get in all the nutrients that you need. So yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, you can wear my Apple Watch while you do that, just so you log the activity for me. That'd be great. Thank you. Um, and then my last question here for you, Rebecca, if you were to give other senior living providers just three guiding principles, it can be, physical or spiritual wellness. It could be anything. You can really take this any place you want to go. As we move through the rest of the next 12 months or so, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of laugh about that work-life balance, right? But I find myself emailing people after hours, right? And I know me, I'm one of those that like if someone emails me, oh my God, I got to email them back, right? And I'll do it at 10 o'clock at night. And so I found myself doing that and going, what does my associate team member feel on the other end getting that on a Saturday? May have been beneficial for me to do it on a Saturday because it was when I had time. So I've been really trying to be more aware of that. And I think in our senior living space, we work 24/7. And those on the receiving end of that also feel that pressure to respond. And so I would say, just being aware of that, like setting up a future email to go out so you don't forget versus sending it at 11 o'clock at night. So I'm trying to be better about that myself. And I think that's just something as an industry, we're just like churning and burning, right? Like 24/7, then we wonder why nobody wants to come back to work, right? The next day. So that for sure. I think we have to start being, I think we need to be more open minded about bringing people into the senior living space. I think we're like, okay, do you have a healthcare administration degree? Do you have a nursing license? And I think sometimes we get stuck in that silo where there's so many people out there with caring hearts that we can teach the skills if we can just get them into our industry. We know this industry lost a ton of people through COVID, right? So how do we reach and branch out to people that may not see this space as like the space they want to join and find those people? I mean, somebody take a chance on somebody, right? I will never forget somebody who hired me in the senior living space early on that said, I asked them why they interviewed me because it was a pretty high level position for my age. And they're like, you worked in restaurants. And I was like, what does that have to do with my role? Because customer service, right? People who work in restaurants deal with, all ends of the spectrum, right? And in order to make that dollar, right, make that tip, you have to provide really good customer service, even if you really don't want to, right? And so I found that really interesting that they were looking for specific qualities and jobs I had had prior, even though it wasn't in the senior living space. So I think being open-minded is where we're going to start feeding, these open positions that we're all dealing with and really taking a chance on people that we may not have taken a chance on 10 years ago. And I think, the last thing I would say, as we just struggle, I think we've getting out of COVID, I think we're past it, right? But we're dealing with staffing struggles and just the strain of that is to remember to just be kind. I think we're all here to do the right thing. And I think sometimes we get caught up in just, the financials and the high level stuff, and remembering that at the end of the day, we're all here, hopefully all here for the right reason. And kindness goes a long way, right? Like there have to be tough conversations. They have to, we have to get that we run a business, we're taking care of people. But if we can just keep that in mind every day about everything that we do, the intention to be kind, it goes a long way. Right? People want to work for kind people and kind cultures. And so I would say, thinking about that in our space as well.
Yeah, it's such a great point to end on. I mean, I find it even just my day to day or when I'm traveling, like if you're just kind to people, like they'll just go out of your way to help you that much more. And yeah, powerful stuff, Rebecca. Thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck on that half Ironman. You'll crush it. I'm sure you won't have any issues with that. And thanks so much for joining us here today.
Yes, thanks. And I can't wait to hear about your half marathon you're signing up for today.
It's recorded, so I guess I got to do it. If you'd like to know when we post the next episode, make sure to subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. If you're interested in how Eversound can help improve the quality of life in your community, find out more at eversoundhq.com.